To make an arrest in a felony case, what do you have to have?
Probable cause.
What does probable cause mean?
Probable cause is a set of circumstances that would lead a reasonable magistrate or judge, or even to believe that a crime has occurred and the person that you're arresting committed that crime.
Can you arrest somebody on mere suspicion?
No.
Can you arrest somebody just because a child is missing?
No.
Hi, my name is Madison, and you are listening to and/or watching Who's Knocking, a true crime podcast. Welcome back. This is part 3 of my series on Letecia Stauch and the murderer of her 11-year-old stepson, Gannon Stauch. Going through in detail of exactly what happened. I think many people already know the outcome. It's upsetting. I will say I have a correction from last week's episode. Last week, I accidentally wrote down and said that blood evidence was found in Al's truck. That's incorrect. It was found in Letecia's Tiguan. There was no blood evidence, I don't believe, that was ever found in Al's truck. I feel like there might have been, I don't know, but the main blood evidence was found in Letecia's Tiguan. If you are interested, please subscribe to this channel. That would be dope. I'm almost at 500 subscribers. Pretty stoked about that. It's not a very big number, but it's a very big number for me. So thanks. Thanks to all who subscribe. It is great. So thank you. Other than that, I think we'll just get right into it. Last week, I'm not going to do a big recap. We talked about everything that led up to Letecia and Harley's departure. They got in the rental van, and unbeknownst to Harley at the time or anyone else, Gannon was in the trunk of that van, or the back of that van or truck or whatever it was, rental truck, in a suitcase, and Letecia drove across the country until they ended up in Florida. It is believed that is where, well, it is known that is where she left Gannon's body, and they moved on. They were going to stay in Orlando, Florida, but then Letecia started getting really paranoid, so she drove them to South Carolina, where she's from, in Myrtle Beach, and she started, hanging out with friends and kind of couch surfing and living there. So at this point, she is in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, living it up. Not really, but living her freedom life. Living life on the run. So at this point, Gannon had been missing for over a month. There had been over 200 volunteers who spent thousands of hours searching multiple locations for Gannon with no luck. It was an absolutely horrific and gut-wrenching time. All the family knew was that Gannon had been burnt, and he'd suffered some sort of injury that caused a significant amount of blood. Letecia had admitted that she'd cleaned up that blood, although clearly she didn't do a very good job because it was very evident. Now, hopes were not very high that Gannon would be found alive. Statistically, it would have been extremely unlikely that he would have been found alive at this point. But there was one thing that searchers found that had led to Gannon, and that was a piece of particle board found at Highway 105 South and Perry Park Road in Palmer Lake. Now, this board had blood on it, and that blood was a match to Gannon. And the board was consistent with other boards found in the Stauch's garage. Al was super into woodworking, so he had a lot of wood lying around in the garage, apparently. Now, based on my own Google mapping, this location looks to be about a 45-minute drive from the Stauch home at 6627 Mandan Drive in Colorado Springs. We will touch a little bit more on this piece of evidence later in the episode, so just keep that in your minds. Now, despite all of this, and all of Letecia's very obvious lies and the fact that she'd fled the state, they still did not have a body. Now, a body is crucial in a murder investigation, and I'm sure many of you are aware of how difficult it is to prove that a person is guilty of murder if there is no body. It's not impossible, but it's very hard. You see, in order to charge somebody with murder, you need to prove that the victim is dead. And without a body, that is very hard. In order to arrest somebody for homicide, you need probable cause. You need evidence that indicates that your suspect is the most likely person who did the murdering. And without enough of that, you risk the suspect getting off. So it took a lot of time for investigators to build up enough probable cause, especially without a body, in order to arrest Letecia. This episode will center heavily around the arrest affidavit that went through all of the investigation's probable cause that obviously led to the arrest. But before I get there, first I'm going to play a clip from the trial where Letecia's defense attorney is questioning Mitch Mahalko. Mitch was a detective with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Now, Mitch was the officer who, in the last episode we saw, he's the one who seized her phone in that interview with Detective Bethel. This line of questioning, I think, gives some really good insight as to why it took so long to arrest Letecia, which I assume has been a question on a lot of people's minds up until this point, and it was definitely a question on my mind. And this answers it very well.
And that's why you seized the phone you testified to, because she could have destroyed the evidence, gotten rid of the phone, whatever. A lot of stuff could happen. And so that's why it was important, exigent circumstances, that you took this phone, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay. And ultimately, that's why you seized the house on February 7th, to keep evidence from leaving, disappearing, spoiling, whatever you want to call it.
Once it was determined that the house was a point that we kept coming back to, and realized that the investigative efforts were very complex and were ongoing and continuing, yes, that decision was made.
Okay. Now, on January 27th or 29th, I'm sorry, during the interview, you made a determination that there was exigent circumstances to take the phone, to seize it for Ms. Stauch, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You also based that determination on the fact that she had really changed her story. And as Mr. Allen asked you, first story was diametrically opposed to what second story was, correct?
Yes.
Okay. At that time, you could have arrested her for attempt to influence a public servant, correct? Giving the vastly diametrically opposed stories to law enforcement.
Remember, at this point in time, we also had no body, and there was concern that there were additional leads coming in. So there was a possibility, that was a concern, yes.
Enough to where you were able to seize a phone of Ms. Stauch into the possible investigation of Gannon's disappearance.
Correct.
And I'm not talking about, charging her with murder at the time. I'm talking about attempt to influence the public servants.
Sure.
Why didn't you charge her then? You said in your report that we believed she was giving false information. I believed that this went into the calculus about making your decision of seizing the phone. Why didn't you just go ahead and charge her with something then and arrest her?
What would that have gained for the actual investigation into Gannon at that point?
Well, it would. I can't answer the questions.
Okay.
So, I mean, if that's just a rhetorical question for the jury. So,
More of a clarifying question as to where you're going with that. I would like to help you with that.
Commander, there's information that after the 29th, but before the house was locked down on the February 7th, that Ms. Stauch and her family had arrived at the Mandan Drive house with a moving van and moved out of the residence, correct?
I don't remember the exact dates, but there was a timeline in there that they did move, yes.
It was between her interview on January 29th and but after that, but before the house was seized on February 7th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And also there's allegations and evidence that has come in that actually Miss Stauch, after January 29th, after the interview and the phone seizure, transported Gannon's body to Florida and dumped it in a swampy area. That happened after January 29th, but before February 7th, the house being seized, correct?
Not sure exactly when that occurred, but again, I would have to actually go back to reports to see the exact timeline. I apologize, I'm not able to give a more clear answer on that. If you're telling me that is what your understanding is, I could agree to that likely being the case.
If she had been arrested on January 29th at the police station when the phone was seized, then she would have been in custody and not had the opportunity the first week of February to dispose of Gannon's body in Florida, correct?
I can't make that determination, especially within our jurisdiction. A false reporting is actually a misdemeanor crime, which you would be served a summons, and so she would never been arrested and placed into custody. If there was enough information for a felony attempt to influence, that is a very low bond and generally something that people are out on extremely quickly.
But attempt to influence, this would have qualified, and it is a felony offense. And she could have had a bond set much higher if it was an attempt to influence as part of a high-profile murder investigation. You could have asked for a higher bond, correct?
Again, I believe that at this point in time, you're making an assumption that on January 29th, we were able to prove or have more than a suspicion that Gannon was murdered by his stepmother. So I think that's reaching.
So just to be clear, did you seize the defendant's phone?
I did.
I'm kidding. To make an arrest in a felony case, what do you have to have?
Probable cause.
What does probable cause mean?
Probable cause is a set of circumstances that would lead a reasonable magistrate or judge, or even to believe that a crime has occurred and the person that you're arresting committed that crime.
Can you arrest somebody on mere suspicion?
No.
Can you arrest somebody just because a child is missing?
No.
You see, even Letecia's lawyers, who I assume are, at least somewhat well-versed in law and rules, he walked right into this one. Even if they were to arrest her for something besides murder, even if it was a felony, the likelihood that they would have been able to keep her long enough would have been low. I think it was a very calculated and reasonable plan to let her believe that they weren't as suspicious of her as they really were, and then follow her every move and wait for her to fuck up, which is essentially what they did. So the arrest affidavit was submitted by Detective Jessica Bethel with the help of the FBI on February 28, 2020. They wrote that they had probable cause that Letecia Stauch had committed the following 4 offenses: first-degree murder of a child under 12 years old, child abuse resulting in death, tampering with a deceased body, and tampering with physical evidence. Now, these are all obviously major crimes, felonies, of course. Now, this affidavit submits that they believe that Gannon was in fact murdered on January 27, 2020 in his own bedroom. There was a significant amount of blood evidence found in that room that was a match to Gannon. They believe, based again on more blood evidence, that his body was he was killed in his bedroom, and then his body was dragged down the stairs and into the garage and then loaded into the trunk of Letecia's Tiguan. Clearly there was trailing blood evidence leading to that location and then blood evidence found in the trunk. Letecia then brought the Tiguan to the airport and left it in the parking lot with Gannon's body in the trunk, and then she rented that Kia. Now, on the evening of January 28, 2020, Letecia, they believe, then likely disposed of Gannon's body off Highway 105 and South Perry Park Road. There was the board, as I mentioned before, that was a match to some of the wood in the garage, and as well had blood that, again, was a DNA match to Gannon. The GPS data in the Tiguan confirmed that Letecia had driven to that location on the 28th, even though she'd turned off her cell phone at the time. And this, again, was the same day that she had been texting Harley asking about Al's whereabouts and pretending to be at the police station. Obviously, it was not at the same time because her cell phone was turned off and this texting happened on her phone, but it was during that day. Now, during one of her interviews, she tried to put herself in that location. I don't remember exactly which one, I just remember hearing her say that she had gone there. And she said she'd gone out to meet with a guy who was selling a bike on Craigslist, but then she got lost and she didn't end up getting the bike, and some bullshit that never really made sense at all. But she was clearly thinking ahead and trying to put herself in that location, obviously pretending that she was there for non-nefarious reasons. Once the Tiguan had been seized, which we talked about in the last episode, and it was tested with luminol, it absolutely lit up with blood evidence. Now, a pretty big treasure trove of evidence was found on Letecia's cell phone. Her internet search history was pretty fucking damning. There were over 6,000 searches during this time period, and Letecia had deleted over 4,000 of those searches. They were able to see the searches that she deleted, but because they were deleted, they did not have the timestamp associated with them. I will give you some of her past searches with no timestamps, and I think you'll see why they're pretty relevant, even though we can't link them to a specific date and time. Now, this is a clip from an interrogation that we will get to later in the episode, where this FBI agent discusses some of those searches.
Because in here I even have what you entered in your phone. The stuff that you've entered and deleted. Like blood is spurting from an arterial bleed, direct pressure not controlling.
Do what? I didn't look this up.
It's from your phone.
Blood is what?
Spurting from an arterial bleed.
No.
Somebody did from your phone. I don't like my stepson.
No.
I don't like my stepson. Should I get a divorce? Stalk cheating. I'll stalk Instagram. I'll stalk cheating in Colorado Springs. Catch I'll stalk cheating. How to get blood out of sheep.
Out of sheep?
Mm-hmm. I want immunity.
The blood out of sheets was because we always had always nosebleeds. If I ever looked up blood out of sheets, it was nosebleeds.
And I figured it might be something.
I didn't ever look up anything about an artery or something unless it went from something else.
It's on your phone.
And I never looked up anything about my stepson unless someone else did it.
The reason I brought up gangs is you looked up, I want immunity because it was gang related. And this sounds like find me a new husband, find me a rich guy who wants to take care of his kids.
The new husband is just because Albert already knew that was about the lady, Debbie Sherrill, who wanted to find a new husband after 35 or something. He picked me about Amazon.
And like a lot of these can have nothing to do with this.
It doesn't.
I get it. Can I spray paint wood?
Spray paint wood? Well, we always spray wood.
Yeah. I'm doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help.
Oh, that bothered me. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame
Oh,
them.
yes, because I wanted them to be mine. Like
What about it?
me to be their child.
Hit and run? You Googled a lot on Letecia and traffic accident, hit and run.
No, I didn't hit anybody.
No? What was that?
What date was it?
I don't have a date on these. I was downloading stuff as I was coming on the plane.
Yeah, no. I don't.
My husband wants a divorce. My husband wants a baby, but I want an abortion. One day, some people will wish they treated you differently, which I get that. Parenting should be 4 people, not 1. Quote a suicidal person might say. I mean, these make me very sad when I read them because I can see you're doing all the work at home by yourself.
Which I wanted to be there. Like, I wanted to totally have the kids as my children. That's the point you're not getting. Like, I wanted those kids to be saying to me that I'm their mom.
Yeah.
Like, I am the person who does it, cares for them, loves them, everything. So you can think that.
What do you do if you suspect a person swallowed poison? Did somebody actually swallow poison?
Poison? I don't know. I always click things and read them.
More searches include, find me a new husband book. I feel like I'm just a nanny, not a stepmom. Husband uses me to babysit his kids. My husband never posts about me, but does everything else. My husband only cleans for the army, not me. I'm just a glorified babysitter. Find a new husband. Sent my husband sexual messages and he ignores them. So again, these are ones that don't have timestamps associated with them, but we know they happened before Gannon, most likely before Gannon was murdered. Now, here are some of the searches that she made around the time of Gannon's disappearance that were not deleted.
So the first one was January 21st at 9:05 p.m. The defendant searched Landon Marie Hoyt.
Is that Hyatt?
I'm sorry, Hyatt. Yeah.
Yeah. And then just so the record is clear, spell the name.
Landeen. Marie is Marie, and Hyatt is Hiott.
What is the next search?
Same day, but at 9:10 p.m., so 5 minutes later, U-Haul truck rental.
The next search?
9:12 p.m., U-Haul trucks rates Colorado Springs, Colorado to Orlando, Florida on January 22nd of 2020.
There was a reference in text messages that we went through on the timeline where the defendant said, I should have left last week when I was, do you remember that search?
I do.
Does that coincide with what we're seeing here, that the defendant is searching for U-Haul trucks to go to Florida?
Correct. And it's jobs, employment in Los Angeles, California, using Indeed.com.
What's the next one on January 25th?
January 25th is 12:16 p.m. Now this is Saturday, before Al flies to Oklahoma. So Saturday the 25th at 12:16 p.m., find real military singles was searched.
Is there another search at 12:16 p.m. as well?
There is military dating and singles at militarycupid.com.
What's the next search on January 25th of 2020?
1:40 p.m., the search was parenting should be 4 people, not 1.
What's the next search on January 25th, 2020, and what time?
Also 1:40 p.m., I'm over doing all the work for my stepkids and their mom doesn't help.
What's the next search on January 25th, 2020, and what time?
It's at 1:48 p.m. and it reads, if you aren't involved in your kid's life, you are shitty.
What's the next search on January 25th, 2020, and what time?
1:49 p.m., my husband's ex-wife does nothing for her lids.
Based on context, what do you think that the lids actually meant?
Should be kids.
Okay. Is it a typo basically on the searcher's part?
Yes.
The next search on January 25th, 2020, what time and what did it say?
1:51 p.m., I wonder if my husband's ex-wife is sending me a Valentine's card since I, raise, her, kids. 1:54 p.m., one day some people will, wish they treated you differently.
What is the next search on January 25th, 2020, and what time?
7:57 p.m., find me a rich guy who, wants me to take care of his kids.
What is the next search on January 25th, 2020, and what time?
7:58 p.m., find a guy who wants me to take care of, his, kids and get paid.
What is the next search on January 25th of 2020?
This is at 9:11 p.m. and it's apartments for rent in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on Trulia.com.
Based on all these searches for apartments and jobs in the Florida area, to your belief, did it appear that the defendant was trying to look for a way to move from Colorado and go to Florida without the family?
Right. 1 bedroom, 1 bath apartment for rent. That means you're not moving a family of 5.
And then now do we have 2 searches on January 29th?
Correct.
Tell us the first search on January 29th as it's relevant to this investigation.
Both were at 2:34 a.m. And the first one reads, I want immunity because it was gang related. And the second one is this GregHillAssociates.com. She read an article about be careful about being granted immunity and not testifying.
And here are the searches made from the phone that Letecia acquired when she got to South Carolina.
There were just over 1,300 searches during this time period on her South Carolina phone. We were able to get that down to 377 unique searches. And out of those 377, we're going to show you 96 that are relevant to this case.
All right. Do we have, it looks like 5 searches that are relevant to this investigation that occurred on February 19th of 2020?
That's correct.
Tell us the first search on February 19th, 2020, and what time?
1:22 p.m., the defendant searched crime online.
What is crime online? Do you know?
It's the Nancy Grace show for nationwide exposure crimes.
And was there reference to the defendant being in contact with the Nancy Grace show during some of these recorded phone calls that we heard?
Alleged, we don't have any proof that, that the defendant spoke with Nancy Grace.
What is the next search on February 19th of 2020?
At 3:49 p.m., Palmer, period, Harold, period, Colorado, period, Springs.
Is Harold misspelled there?
It is. It's Hearld.
What is Palmer Herald, Colorado Springs?
It's the newspaper up in Palmer Lake area.
So does that indicate to you that the defendant was searching for news in the Palmer Lake area, which would cover the area where the board was found?
It was. This is during our search operations up there. The defendant was very interested in lots of local news, monitoring what our investigative tactics were at the time. At 6:51 a.m., how long will fingerprints stay on an object?
What is the next search on February 20th, 2020?
8:49 p.m., I need a fake ID that's legit.
Then do we have a bunch of searches on February 21st, 2020 that are relevant for this investigation?
We do.
What is the first one on February 21st?
6:43 a.m., children trafficking to, period, Mexico, period, from, period, and it's misspelled Colorado. It's spelled COLOROSDO.
And does this roughly coincide with references by the defendant in some of these recorded consensual phone calls that were recorded by the FBI, indicating that Gannon may have been trafficked to Mexico?
Yes.
What is the next search on February 21st, 2020?
6:54 a.m., I need a criminal polygraph.
And the next one on February 21st, 2020?
A few minutes later at 7:08 a.m., I need a fake criminal polygraph.
The next one on February 21st, 2020?
7:21 a.m., fake polygraph test.
The next one on February 21st, 2020?
7:35 a.m., can you get away with fake lie detector? And it's misspelled, DETEXTOR website. 6:46 p.m., I need, and it was misspelled MEED, to change my look to hide.
And the next search on February 21st, 2020?
6:47 p.m., face disguise.
The next search on February 21st, 2020?
6:49 p.m., full face and then change, but it's misspelled CHAMGE.
And the next search on February 21st, 2020?
6:51 p.m., first face transplant woman.
The next search on February 21st, 2020?
Also at 6:51 p.m., full face transplant. 3:15 p.m., shock from period, watching someone get shot.
Is someone misspelled?
Yes, it's spelled SOMEOKE.
Is this the first indication that we have, well, let me back up a little bit. Gannon's body still had not been found by this time, right?
Not yet.
Is this the first indication that we have of consciousness by the defendant of Gannon being shot?
Yes.
What is the next search on February 28th, 2020?
7:44 p.m., how period does the FBI find people? And people's misspelled PEOOPLE.
Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case?
Oh, she found out.
I guess this is one of those fuck around and find out situations. Now, there were a lot more searches. She went on to search for how long it takes police to analyze DNA evidence, how to alter past security camera footage, how to get a fake social security number. Do they check in ditches under bridges? Criminally negligent homicide. Can I find a rich guy? Fake a call from Mexico. Fake a call from Mexico drug cartel. How do they identify bodies found in another state? How do they identify whose blood is at the scene? Find people who want to go to jail. Find an immigrant who will admit to a crime. How long does it take a body to decompose in a bag? What does a dead body look like after a month? This one's great. Casey Anthony and Patrick McKenna. Now, I think even the guy on the stand who was answering these questions didn't know who Patrick McKenna was. Patrick McKenna was I believe it's the lawyer who Casey Anthony ended up living with. Now, this is very telling because clearly she knows a little bit about Casey Anthony. Clearly, she sees herself in a very similar position as Casey Anthony. And Casey Anthony really lucked out because everybody on her defense team really rallied around her after her trial, and she ended up living with Patrick McKenna, and he gave her a job. Kind of sounds like Letecia is trying to, I don't know, get the same kind of thing. It looks like she wants what Casey Anthony got, which is very interesting to me. Just saying. So remember that I told you about the police seizing Harley's phone and car on January 30th at the Marshalls? So after that, Letecia had rented a car. She rented a Nissan Altima and a moving van with her family who were in town. We discussed that. Well, obviously, investigators were keeping a very close eye on Letecia, and they were actually able to put a tracking device on the vehicles. And they tracked Letecia to the area where they now believed that she'd dumped Gannon's body. And that was the Highway 105 and South Perry Park Road. I'm pretty sure this is when she told the family that she was going to go and buy dog food, but she was gone for 2 hours and everyone thought that was super sus. I believe that is when they tracked her going back to that location. Now, here is a quote from the affidavit regarding this theory. Quote, I submit a reasonable theory for the fact that Letecia returned to this area based on information in this affidavit as follows. Letecia disposed of Gannon's remains at nighttime and likely was nervous about the location she chose and may not have even remembered where she dumped his remains. Investigators believe that on January 21st, 2020, she went back to the area to view the area while sunlight was available to ensure no evidence was viewable from the road, to ensure his remains were adequately covered to prevent detection, and see if any law enforcement was in the area. End quote. Now, seeing as this affidavit was made before Gannon's remains were found, this was definitely a reasonable theory at the time, but we do know now that Letecia did not return to the area to check on the crime scene. She went back to collect Gannon's body so that she could dump it somewhere else. Somewhere much further away. Now, sometime in mid-February, law enforcement were able to start tapping Letecia's phone, and one of the most incriminating pieces of evidence that they found, again, was mentioned in this probable cause affidavit. So Letecia had visited a website called fakepolygraph.com. And now I'm sure you can figure out exactly what it is they're selling, but in case you can't, I checked out their website, and under how it works, it says, quote, you provide a list of questions, results, the location and date of where the polygraph test supposedly took place. A local polygraph company will email your polygraph examination results, a 3 to 4 page document which details your test results. If your partner calls the authentic company, they will be asked for your name, date of birth, and examination ID. The polygraph company's customer service team will confirm and verify the pre-agreed test details. We guarantee that there is no link between the fake and real polygraph company. Your report will be sent from the real polygraph company. End quote. So, this company is extremely shady. It's essentially for cheaters. And I didn't include obviously, I didn't include all of the conversations between Letecia and Al that were recorded, but one of them, there is a conversation about her taking a polygraph test, but she does not trust the police to give her a polygraph test. She wants a private polygraph test because she can't trust them. She feels like everyone's out to get her, yada, yada, yada. So she definitely obviously knew she was not going to pass a polygraph test, so wanted to get one on her own, and so this is her doing that. On February 18th of 2020, Letecia called the company and asked why she never got a confirmation for the test that she paid for. Listen in.
And how can I help?
Yes, I didn't get any confirmation about my test I paid for.
And so just for reference sake, before we get too deep into the phone call, sounds like there's 2 voices.
That's correct.
Do you recognize one of the voices?
I do.
Is it the female voice?
Yes.
And whose voice is that?
That's the defendant's voice.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you, Angela.
Okay, can I have your name, please? I can check if we've got the order here.
Yes. Keisha, last name is Stauch, Stauch.
Okay, give me one moment, please. Let me have a little look. Okay, yeah, perfect. I can see that we've received that, and we have actually sent the test. Have you not received that as yet?
Have what now?
We have already sent the results to your email account.
I don't have them. Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay, let me try resending that, and if you don't receive it, give us a call back.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you, now. Bye-bye.
And here she is calling back just a little while later.
Hi, yes, I was just talking to you. Is there a way you confirm where you sent those? Because I still didn't get them.
Yeah, so I'm just going to get that resent for you. So if you wait for the next sort of 10, 15 minutes and let me know if you haven't received it by then.
I'm saying, can you check the email, because I just want to make sure.
Okay, yeah, give me a moment. Spelled TECIALYNN2006 @yahoo.com.
Okay, cool. So you said
Okay.
like 10, 15 minutes.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
And again.
Hello, how can I help?
Hi, yes, I'm calling again. I still didn't get that email.
Okay, can I ask your name, please?
His last name's Stauch, S-T-A.
Ah, right, yes, perfect. I can see here.
You told me 10, 15 minutes, and you said it again. I still don't have it.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, it's actually been blocked by management, this order, due to the content of the questions, so we're not going to be able to send this report.
Okay. So, do I get my money back?
Unfortunately, not on this case, no. Obviously, due to our terms and conditions, it does clearly state that any sort of illegal activities or anything like that, obviously the management do reserve the right not to send the report. Obviously, we do incur processing fees, so that's why a refund wouldn't be due.
So what do you do now? Just delete it and go on about life and keep money?
Yes, we would do indeed.
I got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And again.
Do you want me just to write you the questions down?
No, it's okay. I'll just need to have a look into this then to see what can be done.
Okay.
Just remind me again, what was the name on the report?
It was Stauch, Stauch.
Uh-huh. And that's your surname, is it? Your last name?
Yes.
Okay. And first name is?
Keisha.
Okay. And how do I spell that?
It's Tecia.
Tecia.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. All righty. Well, let me have a look into that and I can come back to you.
Okay. Thank you.
What's the best number to get you on?
843
Mm-hmm.
798
Uh-huh.
1700.
Okay. Right. Thanks a lot now. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Now, it was later discovered that the questions and answers that Letecia had submitted with the intent to create a fake polygraph test had nothing to do with infidelity, and they were, in fact, these. Quote, 1. Do you intend to answer these questions regarding your stepson truthfully? Answer, yes. 2. Is your birthday August 4th, 1983? Answer, yes. 3. Did you participate in any way in causing harm to your stepson? Answer, no. 4. Did your stepson return with you to your home? Answer, yes. 5. Did you participate in any way in causing the death of your stepson? Answer, no. End quote. How fucking creepy would it have been to read that? Jesus Christ. Like, this fake polygraph company, this is a shady business, okay? I wasn't going to, but I'm going to read some of the testimonials. Quote, I told my partner that I was taking a day off work to attend a polygraph test. She asked for the results to be emailed directly to her. The authentic polygraph company followed my instructions and sent the report directly to her. She instantly believed me and it saved our 8-year marriage. Damn. My husband accused me of sleeping with another man. We agreed that I would take a polygraph test, but I was worried that I would not pass it. This did the trick. Geez, why were you worried that you weren't going to pass it? Was it because you, in fact, cheated on your husband? Probably. No, anyway, I do love that, like, we live in a free enough society that this can exist, but I also hate it because this is fucked. So I don't know. If anybody needs a fake polygraph, there you go. Thank your local murdering asshole, Letecia. It's not even funny. Anyway, the things that exist. I always think I'll never be shocked, but here we go. Here we are. Anyway, can you imagine if you're just like a random person, and the guy on the phone sounded like a nice guy, like, and you get this woman sending you these questions and answers. Like, it's all people cheating on each other. There's one guy who has a testimony who said, like, he stole something from work or whatever. These are not crazy. Like, people cheat and whatever. But there is no reason on earth to create a fake polygraph to make it look like you didn't murder your stepson if you, in fact, didn't murder your stepson. So that's why it's in the arrest affidavit, I guess. Anyway, I digress. So that is basically all of the evidence in the arrest affidavit. I put a link to the entire document in the show notes, so please feel free to go read it for yourself. It's a pretty simple and very interesting document to read, in my opinion, especially if you're interested. Now, one important piece in the conclusions of this affidavit was this, in paragraph 194. Quote, by combing cell tower data, reviewing video surveillance and home security system logs, investigators believed, based on evidence, that only 3 individuals had access to Gannon on the afternoon of January 27, 2020, and they were Letecia Stauch, Harley Hunt, and 8-year-old Lena Stauch. Now, with the exception of Lena, who is not considered a suspect, it appears that nobody other than Letecia was with Gannon at the Stauch residence between the hours of approximately 14:16 and 17:34 on January 27, 2020. Letecia was definitely the last person to see Gannon alive, end quote. The affidavit was signed by Detective Jessica Bethel at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Now, a judge read this and granted a warrant for Letecia's arrest, and an arrest was made on March 2nd of 2020 in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Letecia's arrest was successful, and she was taken in for questioning by FBI agent Jonathan Grusing. Here is the beginning of that interview to get everybody up to speed.
But because you were arrested, you're not free to leave. I need you to sign an advice of rights before we can talk.
Well, I mean, so I'm getting charged with what now?
So you were charged in the judge in Colorado Springs signed off. So the way this case worked was El Paso County got the original case. They didn't have enough manpower to work it.
Okay.
So they called the FBI.
Right.
Part of for the FBI, an extension of the profiling unit, and I came in and assisted. And I've been helping for about the last 3 weeks.
Okay.
So our evidence response team, you've probably seen that on the news, we've been doing some searches, et cetera. And then other FBI agents have been writing warrants. So a lot of warrants have been written. We've gone through the court. El Paso Sheriff's Office and FBI have worked together. And we found enough, you call it probable cause, for a warrant to be issued. So that's why you're here today.
Okay, a warrant for what, though?
It was for the murder.
What murder?
Gannon Stauch.
So Gannon is murdered.
That's what the evidence shows.
Okay.
And
again, Letecia having the most audacity in the world, asking, what murder? Literally pretending she has no idea why she's even there, which is astonishing, really. Now, she starts the interview by accusing the detectives of denying her a right to an attorney the last time she was questioned, which is a lie. She claims that she's been trying to help and saying that she needs protection because she's in danger, blah, 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 bullshit.
Well,
and I'm not saying
I
that's
just
what
want to
happened
say
with
to
you.
I can help you because what you're charging me with is not, or whoever, is not the case.
Okay.
Gannon is alive, okay, and I can help you.
Okay, great.
But see, here's the problem. When I reached out to people about getting help, I said, hey, I need someone who's going to help me to help you guys. I couldn't get that from anyone at all.
We are happy to help you.
Okay. So I understand you might say you have like whatever evidence that you might say you have, but that's not a case. It did not hurt my child. Okay. Need more assistance besides the FBI. Probably going to need some DEA. Probably need a lot of help.
I'm happy to get whatever help.
Okay.
How do you know?
But
if
I
you're alive?
can't help you unless people are willing to help me. And I did offer every opportunity to sit down and talk with not only my husband, but with Landon to try to come up with the best plan to do it. I really did. And I've been begging every single day, please, please, please don't say this. Okay. You, I know you're expert in your field. Okay. I know you may say you have whatever evidence you have, but it's just not true. Okay. Not.
It's not true that Gannon's dead.
I'm not going to sit here and say 100%. I can tell you that there's really things that wouldn't have occurred that I can help you guys with to know that. And it leads back to some things just being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's the truth.
Okay.
That is the very truth. And every day that went by, I had to do nothing but not only protect myself, but protect my family in this, protect other people in this. And that's just what it's been.
So I think our biggest problem is what happened at the house then.
At the house?
Yes.
Well, there's nothing that would have happened at the house that has anything to do with what I'm talking about at all. That has nothing to do with anything. Because you guys have like clearly put out this information about Gannon not coming home and then this and that and the other. And I get, like I say, you're expert. I get people with forensics are experts. But it's just not the truth. It's not the truth. And until I know that I got to get help from some people other than someone just having me in a room.
You've got to get help to do that.
I got to get help to give everyone what they need because I'm going to need my mom protected. Okay? I'm going to need my brother and sister protected. And most importantly, I'm going to need Harley protected. And on that same note, I'm also going to need other people in Colorado protected. And see, people say FBI can offer that protection.
You can.
How?
If it involves
Does it
an
mean-
11-year-old, if it involves finding an 11-year-old, then we can.
And it means that we can have new identities.
It does. And I've had to do that before. We call it an informant, but we can do it for. We can
How
do
do I
it
know
for the
that
general public. Who else would you trust?
I don't know, like, sir. I don't know. There's nothing that happened at any house. Nothing that happened at any house that would have hurt, harmed, murdered, done anything to anyone. Okay? Wrong place, wrong time.
You were in the wrong place, or Gannon was?
I was.
What about Gannon?
We all were in the wrong place. Even my family was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Even Lena, even Harley. Okay? But all of us in the wrong place at the wrong time.
It's kind of hilarious to watch her look this man in the face and say this type of shit. This man is an FBI agent who's had 23 years of experience with kidnappings, murders, and serial killers. And she really thinks that she can bullshit him with her shitty improv. She's just spewing pure nonsense. It actually reminds me of listening to my 3-year-old who like will start a sentence and then veer off, and like by the end of the sentence he like has no idea what he even started saying. And yes, Agent Grusing was just as unimpressed by Letecia as I was.
She makes a statement that she's been begging every single day for somebody to help her, and says stuff like, I can't help if you don't help me. What was your takeaway from that?
Yeah, I think I could couple that with when she said that she would need even more help than the FBI could provide, whether it's DEA, and then she rolled into she needs secret identities for herself and multiple people. I think she was giving me a task that she thought I couldn't meet, and therefore she might not have to talk about difficult things.
Is the FBI equipped to do those things for witnesses that need protection?
We are. It takes a very extraordinary circumstance, but they could if they had to.
Okay, so I guess the question is if that was actually necessary here, could the FBI have provided that?
Yes,
So you were the right person to talk to if that was the eventuality.
I could get the right person for her.
Okay.
And oh yeah, she also very conveniently claimed that she was 8 weeks pregnant so that she couldn't take a lie detector test. No, she was never pregnant. Now I will say, a lot of people talk about how intelligent Letecia was. I somewhat disagree. And like even this FBI agent later in the trial was like, you know, she was meticulous and she was trying to back me into a corner where I would ask her questions. And like he said that this was a sign of intelligence, but and I guess reasonable people can disagree on like what is intelligence and whatever, but it was so obvious what she was doing. Like it was fooling nobody. To me, it's like a sign of intelligence is if you're doing this and it's working, but it never worked. It worked in the sense that like they couldn't find Gannon for a while. But other than that, all of her lies and all of her manipulation tactics didn't actually trick anybody. So, I mean, I guess it's up for debate about how intelligent Letecia was, Miss PhD, Dr. Tish. Letecia went through her story again about what happened during the weekend before Gannon's disappearance, all up until he disappeared. He questioned her about the blood on the board, the blood in Gannon's bedroom, the injuries that Gannon had, and she just Casey Anthony'd the whole thing, basically. And there was a certain point where it kind of felt like they were getting somewhere. Take a look.
Okay, well,
If someone else took Gannon,
if everyone
we can
else is
find
in
him.
here, I don't like that. I want to be able to have emotional, raw conversation.
Let's do it now.
I can't.
I mean, we can't go anywhere. Where do you want to go?
Because I know people are sitting here.
Nobody's sitting there.
Okay, someone's watching from there.
They are in the other room. It's the
Okay.
district attorney. Do you want me to tell them they can't watch?
No, I want to talk to someone in a raw, real conversation that you can see truly in my heart the situation. That's what I want.
That's what this is.
No, it's not that.
But how can I make
Who
it
is it?
that
The district
decision?
attorney from Colorado?
Yes.
Yeah, see? Come on.
I can ask them to leave the room.
No, it's not about leaving the room. It's about I'm asking for, instead of going through all, this, whatever, sitting here wasting our time or whatever, I'm asking. Because I'm taking your word that you're going to help me and you're going to provide the resources from wherever you said you have them.
So first she wanted protection from something that she would not clearly articulate. And then they were like, yeah, sure, we can do that for you. We're the fucking FBI. Like, of course we can do that. And she's like, well, no, I want to have a raw emotional conversation. It needs to be so raw and emotional and private. She's clearly trying to create just ambiguity to bide time and distract. She's so fucking annoying, you guys. I'm sorry, I'm swearing so much because she makes me so angry. And I'm sure, man, if you sat through that trial like I did and you listened to every single conversation she had with people, I've never in my life met or heard of a more annoying person than this woman. She's just on her high ass horse. She's so fucking annoying. So at a certain point, the district attorney was brought in to help offer Letecia protection that she was asking for. Here's that.
Let me explain, Martha. My understanding of what Letecia is asking is, how does she know, since I've said, if there's a bad guy or guys out there that did this to Gannon, that she can tell us where these guys are? And she's concerned for not only her safety, but the safety of her family.
Right.
And how can
See,
she...
I say, would I trade my life for Gannon? And I said, yes, but I said, it's also other people. Like, how do I know that everyone else is not going to be? And how do I know that you guys aren't just trying to be like, whatever, if I walk you through anything or can help you with anything? I don't want to be just thrown somewhere, like being like, okay, well, you didn't tell me this, and I want to be able to help you and work together because I'm sure you have kids or grandkids or whatever. I do. I don't want to sound like I'm cold-hearted, and I'm just tired of being like the person chased instead of being able to have someone to actually have compassion to help me.
And wow, what an angel. Did you hear that? She said that if she could trade her life for Gannon's, she would. Just as an aside, obviously. Letecia is trying to, on the one hand, sound like she's been doing everything in her power to aid the investigation and nobody's been listening to her. And she's putting her family's safety first by requiring all this protection because she's still such an angel trying to protect what she's got left. But at the same time, she's constantly upping the request and trying to ask for more than she thinks can be offered by the FBI. The smart thing to do would have been to ask for an attorney on day one and to have kept her big fat mouth shut. But I think Letecia was physically unable to do that. She loves to talk, and it's like she cannot help herself. Now, this interview went on for a lot longer, and Grusing did end up getting a little bit real with Letecia in the latter half of it.
Letecia, there's an 11-year-old kid. Again, we have to go back there. 11-year-old kid, injuries in the house. Now we know that. Aidan. And you don't come to law enforcement?
This was a law enforcement
But no,
person.
there's no Barbara. I mean, how did you get in from, except through your friend? You had Amber from the FBI.
Right, but she said that she worked with the FBI and she was going to send information. She said that she worked with Amber. I assure you, if you call Amy, you can get the number from her to find out what Barbara, who the Barbara lady was. And she was actually emailing her today.
But if you told them back then and you trusted them with that information,
This is why
why are you not today? When
because no one has helped. I tried since February 5th. The 5th. Today's March. That's why you see I had such a problem with trust. Is because
I was there when you were talking to Amber, though. That was your chance. And
Amber.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
legit FBI.
So then, is that what happened when I was talking to Amber? I got a message back from the attorney who said not to talk to you guys because you guys, A, weren't the lead agency or something like that. And then B, not to say anything else unless he was present. That was when I was trying to talk to Amber.
But why wasn't that with Barbara then?
Because I gave it to my friend Amy, who had this relationship with Barbara, like trying to check on her.
But see, and this sounds like a lot of your calls
Mhm.
to where you're pointing fingers in different directions, but never giving specific things.
Right, I did.
Right now, I mean, if Gannon is somewhere and you can get us there, and he sent proof of life or a picture of Gannon or whatever else, it makes no sense for some man to have an 11-year-old child.
It wasn't that. It was because we thought it was someone playing games. And if someone was playing games, we were trying to say that person would have been like obstructing or whatever. That was the whole point. Not somebody had him and they were like, here, come get it. My point was that we thought it was someone, hey, here's someone playing games. Could you find out who this person is?
Yeah, but do you see where that's going? And all your talks with Al. Those are distractions. Those take up time.
Yeah.
And Gannon's over here. Somewhere.
Yeah.
And you are misleading law enforcement.
No, I didn't mislead them.
No. Well, you're misleading anybody who would report to us.
No, I didn't mislead any of them. Who did I mislead?
With all these other stories.
That was to Albert. It wasn't misleading law
But you knew we were in the room. You
Yeah,
just
because
said that.
I wouldn't have said stuff like that if I was trying to mislead. I was just being whatever to Albert because he was making me upset. That's all.
The dad of a kid is not finding his son.
Because I'm
Because-
also the stepmother who helped him get the kids, and he wouldn't have gotten them without me. So yes, he wouldn't have.
You're willing to do that to Al, though.
No, I already had apologized to him and said that was awful to say that to him out of anger. I had already done that.
But before we kick this thing in motion about all this protection and whatever, why haven't you said one thing, though, today? How in the world would he suffer a head wound on Saturday that requires...
I didn't say it was a head wound that required
head
anything. I said
thing?
the head thing you're talking about when I said something to Albert. I said the head thing you're talking about. That's what I said.
So the bike accident thing?
You already trying a bike accident.
No, the head thing talking to Albert.
Never mind. I'll just wait until you are ready to talk to me with from beginning to the end Because I already said that that is completely irrelevant to anything that what you're talking about. Completely irrelevant. I told Albert something else that was just story to be whatever to him. And it was wrong, and I already had apologized
So
to
the
Albert.
things that you told Albert were that he was peeling these berms. Was that happening?
I'm not going to answer any more questions because you're asking me about things telling Albert out of being upset.
But nothing really worked. She continued making up even more stories. She came up with yet another character, a woman named Angel, who Al had made her have a threesome with, who she alluded to having something to do with this. Grusing begged Letecia to tell him the last place that she saw Gannon, and Letecia refused over and over and over again to answer this very simple question, which was very telling. And this is yet another example of an multi-hour long conversation that Letecia had with someone where she shows so much regard for herself. All she cares about is herself. Can I trust you guys? I don't know. I need to be protected. I said this because blah, 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 blah. And absolutely zero emotion for Gannon. No, not a tear shed for the fact that her stepson, who she claimed to love, even after he brought up the search that she made saying, I don't like my stepson, and not a tear, not a worry, not a question about his whereabouts, just her sitting there gaslighting the hell out of everybody around her, telling them that Gannon was alive and she knew this, but she wouldn't help find him. It's just, you wonder how on earth somebody can sit there with and just spew this complete bullshit. It's insane. It's insane. Now, in the end, this interview was over 4 hours long, but yielded no real helpful information. Letecia was arrested at this point, so she was not going anywhere, and they were prepared to bring her back to Colorado to be tried. This drive would be a very eventful one, and that is where we will start on the next episode. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode and the last couple. I'm not sure if the next one is going to be the last one. There's either going to be 1 or 2 more parts. But just a heads up, the ride from Myrtle Beach to Colorado it's very eventful. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Please stay safe out there because you never know who's knocking. This podcast is produced in collaboration with Lost Line Media. Artwork by August Digital. Music by Matthew Cook.